Would you buy a pizza for $1 billion? Not in reais, in dollars. This guy actually did that. This story is famous. Today, I'm going to show you all the details of this story about the guy who bought a pizza for $1 billion in 2010. Here's the original post on the BitcoinTalk.org forum. Okay? It's topic number 137, one of the early topics. You can see the date here. Look, May 18th, 2010. This guy here, Laszlo, we'll see his picture in a moment, okay? He wrote here, look, I'm going to pay 10,000 Bitcoins considering that one Bitcoin is now $100,000. If you multiply $100,000 by 10,000, that's $1 billion. Obviously back then it was only worth $40, right? He wasn't stupid. But yeah, he had no idea that 15 years later, all that money would come to him. But he said, I'm going to pay 10,000 Bitcoins for some pizza, maybe 2 large pizzas, blah, blah, blah. I like mushrooms and I don't know what else. If you're interested, let me know and we can work something out. Then someone asked, which country do you live in? He sent the address here, Florida, even with the zip code, he sent it. 10,000? Oh, that's actually not bad. Yeah, you could sell it here. Yeah. Someone says it's $41 that day, okay? On the same day, a few hours later, $41 was the value of 10,000 Bitcoins in 2010. Then a guy said, I would buy Domino's, but I'm in another country, blah, blah, blah. And at that point, people had no idea what was about to happen. And then the guy said, man, doesn't anyone want to buy me pizza? Is the amount of Bitcoins I'm offering too low? 10,000 Bitcoins. At the time, you know, it was so hard to buy or sell. And really, no one was interested right away. Then he said, I think it would be interesting if I could say that I managed to pay for pizza using Bitcoin, you know. Up until then, no one had ever used Bitcoin to buy anything. It was just a joke. People would have fun. Trade among themselves, but no one had ever bought anything with it. At least not as far as there are records. He said, I think it would be interesting to do this. And so, this was on May 21st, 2010. On May 22nd, 2010, which became known as a historic day. He made this post here. Look, I wanted to report that I managed to trade 10,000 Bitcoins for pizza. And then he posted a little photo here. Thanks, Jerkos. Jerkos, I think, was the guy who bought the pizza for him. If this Jerkos held on to those Bitcoins, he's doing really well now. And the photo here, if we click on it, it won't work anymore, right? Because the link is really old, but we managed to recover this photo from the internet, and I'll show it to you. This one here, look, this is Laszlo with the 2 kids. Those kids must be grown up by now. This was 15 years ago. And the 2 pizzas, right? Quite a pizza, huh? To have cost $1 billion. So I'm giving $500 million each. On the day that became known as Bitcoin, Pizza Day, marking the first recorded transaction, one with Bitcoin. Then people said, congratulations, this is a milestone. Look, that pizza there looks delicious. And then he said the following on June 12th, right? Some time had already passed. He said, this is an open offer. I will trade 10,000 Bitcoins now for 2 pizzas as long as I have Bitcoins. This guy was a miner, so he earned thousands of Bitcoins per day. So he said, I have a lot. Just imagine how many Bitcoins this guy had. He said, whoever wants to send me 2 pizzas, I'll give 10,000 Bitcoins. And then Bitcoin started to go up, right? It started to rise. Those $40 were already worth $600. Then someone said, $600 is a great deal for a pizza, huh? And then the guy put a little smiley face. The guy has no idea that one day this amount would reach $1 billion, and it will probably go much higher, right? I'm making this video in 2025. Just imagine the video I'll make in 2030, the video I'll make in 2040. Then he said, yeah, I didn't think this was going to be so popular. He never would have imagined that Bitcoin would go up this much, right? And then it continued. If you take this post here and look at it, you can follow how this all evolved, right? Someone said, look, happy November. These pizzas are worth $2,600. Someone asked, do you think one day this will be $1 million pizza? Buddy, it's already gone. Way past that. And this post here, look, has 73 pages. If we go page by page, it's cool, right? Because you can see how it keeps going up. 18,000 for the pizza. This was a year later. A year later, those $40 were already worth 18,000. And it kept going. It went up to 49,000, 70,000. Eventually, someone locked this post, okay? If we go to the last page here, this was the last post, all right? That was from 2016. By that point, those pizzas were already worth over $1 million, maybe even 10 million, right? If I'm not mistaken, around that time, Bitcoin hit $1,000. It had already reached $1,000. So this little joke had already gone past $10 million. Nowadays, we're talking about $1 billion, and it's going to keep going up. That's the story of Bitcoin Pizza Day. Another cool thing about Bitcoin's history is that this forum here was created by Satoshi Nakamoto, okay? This forum here is number 137. After the dot comes the page number. So if we put, for example, 1.0, we won't find anything, all right? Because he was probably just testing. 2.0 also won't bring up anything. 3.0 won't bring up anything either. The first post is 5.0. So 5.0 is the first post, 5 is the first post, right? And 0 is the page. If we go to page 2 here, it will be 5.1, 5.2, sorry. But here, this is Satoshi's post saying that this is the new forum. And I think there must have been a previous forum, right? There was a previous forum, but that forum is no longer available. Maybe someone has an archive of it. He says, welcome to Bitcoin, a P2P, peer-to-peer anonymous digital currency, right? An anonymous digital currency, e-currency, it had other names at the time. And you can see that it was Satoshi himself who created it, but along with his group who helped out, right? The enthusiasts, the early adopters, who participated and mined thousands of coins. And it's cool to read so you can learn about the history of Bitcoin to see how different it was from what it is today. The principles are the same, right? Mining, proof of work, all of that is the foundation of Bitcoin. The innovative foundation of Bitcoin remains. But the way the whole system works has changed a lot. And here you have tests, production tests. So it's really cool here to see on this forum and to read the history from when Satoshi was active, right? Satoshi disappeared. If you click on his user profile here, you can see, look, last active. The last time he was active was on December 13th, 2010. At this time here, that was the last time he logged into the forum. After that, nobody knows what happened, whether he died, disappeared, or changed his name. But according to the records we have, he made 575 posts, and this was the last one. And you can see what his last post was. Look, you go here, you can click here, show the last post. This was his last post here. See? Some question there about denial of service. It's a security question, right? Cybersecurity, like how he could protect the network and so on. So if you want to study the history of Bitcoin, this forum here is really cool. You can just keep changing the topics here. And you'll find the early threads. Look, another thread by Satoshi talking about various issues. See? The first transaction, when you click generate coins. Generate coins is something that doesn't exist anymore, right? But it was in the first little program he made to test the network, just like that. So it's really cool. If you want to study and learn, I recommend that you go to this forum here and take a look at the first threads if you're interested in the history of Bitcoin. And history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. I never really understood that phrase, but what I mean is this. Bitcoin nowadays is at $100,000 and people say, oh, it's too late, it's over. I already missed the boat. But when Bitcoin was at $1,000, people said the same thing. It had already gone up 100 times. When it reaches $1 million, people will say the same thing. When it reaches $10 million, people will say the same thing. So pay attention because we're just at the beginning. All right, you didn't manage to buy at $1, you didn't manage to buy at 10, you didn't manage to buy at 100, but you have the opportunity to buy at 100,000. If you don't buy, you'll keep complaining, you'll keep until it's worth 20 million, and then you'll say, damn, I missed the boat as always, right? Be a little optimistic and give it a chance, man. Bitcoin is just at the beginning. It's only getting started. These pizzas are still going to be talked about a lot. Just imagine, man, $1 trillion pizza. I'll come back here to make a video when the pizza hits $1 trillion. If you like this video, leave a like so we can fight the forces of evil and see you next time.